Clear? Please stop me when you have something is not clear. So IOR, architect of record. Architect of record is someone he know simply. I will speak in very simple English, not technical terms. Someone who knows how to deal with authorities. So he will be hands and the gloves with the design consultant to guide them to get the approval. Otherwise, I might have the best design in the world, doesn't work in this country. Okay. We have also something called EOR, engineer of record. That someone is responsible to like legalize the design to make it like a country fit. MEB, structural, maybe one consultant, all of them, maybe different consultant, geotechnical, whatever. The normal services that we all know in our projects. Long lead equipment. So this is first layer, is the first consultants that we need. All right. Second one, maybe a power consultant, maybe a cost consultant, separate from these services. Then we do long lead equipment procurement. The major, the most important, the most challenging in the project, we should do it. And here, when we see we need to do it, we are mostly talking about owner installed, owner furnished, contractor installed, OFCI. We will go to discuss what is the differences here. Then we have the hiring or the procurement of contractors, general contractor, subcontractors. Before that, maybe piling contractor, early work contractor, fencing contractor, offices contractor, whatever, any other kind of contractors. And as we learn from the design, and we will learn here and further even, that we might tend to do the like stages or like partial, these bit and pieces of hiring to get it, like get the service. I get the early work permit, early works design package. I shouldn't wait. I might hire the consultant and contractor. There is some difficulties. We'll talk about it later. We have the IT infrastructure. If it is included in your scope, the white spaces. So racks, cables, cooling units, etc. Operation, PMS, SCADA, and whatever is in this. So this is kind of the services you need to cover here, including also supervision consultants, including later on, you should hire, commissioning agents, and anything else might come to your mind. Anything, maybe a car agency, like the transportation agency, maybe security, whatever. So it's always parallel that. When you start, so then I will talk here about the major contractor. Design consultant, month zero. I had a project. I should, even before having the project, I should start discussion with consultants, getting RFPs, like releasing RFPs, request for procurement, getting LOI, and talk to the people, get the prices, understand who's available, who is not. I shouldn't wait until I have the plot purchased, then I start the procurement process. Okay. LLE specs release. Remember in the design stage, we said stage 2 to stage 3. Maybe at end of stage 2, sometimes at stage 3, depends on what the information I have, how good I am in designing on a prototype. IT fit out, that will be after the gray space handover. So that's usually if you are not, and this is the difference. Like for example, if we take Aconics as an example, Aconics is kind of collocator who is building and furnishing the white spaces. So this is part of their scope. But for example, companies like where I was, like Damag Digital, we are just handing over the white space itself. You have like a big building, big data hall. You have all of your cable connection, cooling, etc., fiber connection. Then you live with it. So this kind of procurement is the responsibility of the end user, Microsoft, Google, or whoever. Now, what are the risks? Every late procurement decision pushes TOC. TOC is a taking over certificate. So the completion of the physical building, you release the contract, your GC. So every late decision or changes will push. We are building a program with a very critical links, critical paths. There is no float. If you see at the end of this course, I will share with you a few XCRs, a few Primavera files. You will see there is no much float in them. That's one. LLE lead time, 52 to 80. Hakim, you mentioned 16 to 18. That might be in Canada. I was in Europe. From 6 months onward, we can get. That is the best. In many cases, it was 12 months maybe. So that's something you need to plan it earlier. You need to know with what supplier you should go with. What are the specifications? What is the factory slots? Maybe you have a framework, you have some deals. You can get a bulk, like you have 3-4 projects, so you can make a bulk deal to cover them all. That is kind of planning. And the planning, not only like the planning, the scheduler engineer, the planning of the whole team. Like I have a project, for example, I am a developer. I have a project in Kansas, project in Toronto, project in New Jersey, for example, with totally different end user. end users, sorry. So I can be smart enough to make the specification for these projects matching each other, especially if they have a similar timeline, or like they are having a good window of delivery timeline. And I can make a bulk deal with Caterpillar rather than I go and sign a procurement 10 generators here. In another round, I could make a bulk deal of 30. That will push me, get me a good commercial terms, and bring me maybe few steps in the queue to get my generators earlier. So factory slots is also a problem. We need to discuss it. We don't build and go promise your clients without discussion with the manufacturers. Customs and shippings. This is something uncontrollable risk. Why? Because you cannot do anything for it. If there is a custom change, regulation change, government change, war like what's happening now, for example, new VAT, new regulation, whatever. That's something is uncontrollable. You cannot just go to the prime minister and tell him, hey, you just issue a new, your government just issue a new regulation. Please change it to me. So always you need to be in a good connection with the governments and authorities to know what is coming, because usually it doesn't happen in day and night. Secondly, you should plan a buffer. You should have some buffer, some fat in your schedule for these issues. I face a lot of them. All right. Now, when do you start? Stage 2, at the concept design, we could release the LLE specs, mainly generator and chiller. Easily it can be issued. If I decided my cooling, and that's something should be fixed at stage 2, and I know my capacity, how many data holes, what is the redundancy, what is the tiers I'm designing for, I should know both of these two, plus the fuel type for the generator, so I can issue them easily. Stage 2, I could get the power agreement application submitted. Stage 3, I have a developed design. I could go further with more. And by the way, the LLE usually, I myself in my projects, I have LLE1, LLE2. LLE1 usually is the generator, UPS, chillers. Why LLE1 we call it? Because they have, these are the main equipment that have problems with the delivery timeline and lead. The other, like track, fan wall unit, some other mechanical or electrical equipment that's in the scope of the developer, usually you can get them in 4 months, 3 months, 2 months even. You can use them from other projects. It's not that big deal. So that's something could be delayed. Also, they need further technical information, rating, route, maybe cable length, etc. That's something you need to have it in stage 3 sometimes. GC pre-qualification. And at stage 3, I could be able to release early work package, usually. Even if I over-design it, extra 3, 4, 5 piles, it does not cost me a lot, and it will not give me the same pain as a delay could do. So it could save me 1 or 2 months. So extra 1 to 3 million is not a big deal for a project of 2 billion, for example. Early permit, GC tender, this is something I'm just trying to remind you and link it with the procurement all right? Now, who you hire and when. Design consultant, we spoke about. Month 0, all design stages through IFC from stage 2, that is their scope, program acceptance review, and you should control their life cycle. Very important. I work with many design consultants. When you ask them for a program, simply he will send you Excel sheet saying stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, stage 40, and give you dates against each. Unacceptable. They tell them for me, it's your delivery is not just gateways on these stages. As we spoke earlier, we have LLE. At which time will give me what? Like, for example, you have 70 days for stage 3. I will not just sit and wait for you at the end of the 70 days to give me one package. Within these 70 days, you should release a lot of LLE specs. You should early package, early permit, etc. All right? Stage 4 as well. Contractors hired after early permit. That's for early contractor. Then we have after stage 40, usually you should have the full package, the full GC contractor with MED. Why? There is also a discussion. There is always a discussion happening between the design team and the project team, project execution team. The design team just try to push the scope out of their tray. That, hey, I finished stage 2, get a designer, send it to the contractor, send it to procurement team to get your contractor. And the execution team will always resist hiring contractors in early stages. Why? Because the more, or let's say, the less information on the design you have, the more post-contract variation you will get. How? I still don't have design fully, 100% fit, BOQ, everything. I need just to release the pressure from the management, get the timeline, the planning keep nagging. So I push it to the procurement team. The contractor is not having a full package. Contractors is also smart. They will get the deal, and they will hit you with thousands of variations later. And they will be having right, because after that, you will issue for them stage 40. There is no way that you can issue for them a package in stage 3 or earlier as a stage 4. It would be exactly similar to stage 40. No way. I have worked a lot in this industry to see that kind of package to be released. So you will send them again new scope. They will price it again. They will like claim a lot of time of extension of time, variations, and you have managed them. You have hired them. So you have just you cannot swallow and you cannot spit. You know, they are here in your throat, and that's a big problem. That's why the execution team always try to push the hiring until you have a very good package. And this is always a debate between these because you have difficulties in managing the team and the scope versus time to market. IT fit out contractor we spoke about. That is just like a small diagram for you guys to try to map it out in your heads. Now, before I go to this, let me just share with you a very important document. Just give me a second, please. Now, there's something. I know it might be like I will zoom it in to go to these details, but there is something called procurement strategy. This is a very important piece of document that need to be produced at very early stage of the project. These lines and this document should be followed until the end of the project. It will define the scope of each hire or contractor or whatever. It will close the gap as much as possible to make sure that there is no scope gaps in between. All right, guys, just give me 1 second, please. I have something. Apology, guys. Can you hear me now? Hello? Okay. Okay, fine. So just let me check if there's someone joining. No, that's all. Okay. So apology again, just something happened. I need to see the door and come back. So let's talk about procurement strategy and why it's very important. It's very important. I worked in a project, they forget something called procurement strategy, and they keep running behind the design and just use their normal knowledge, like, hey, we need early work, we don't need early work, we need procurement, etc. This piece of document is very important. Very important. Make sure it's there in any of the projects that you work in. Let's go this is a sample of a real project I worked in. I was managing this document. Let's take it one by one now. Now, what it contains? The normal packages, like mobilization package, okay? Main work package, okay? Main work 1, main work 2. Then we have the direct procurement items, which is mostly the LLE, what we are procuring. Okay. Then this will give you, like, will give the team an information. What should we procure? When? What does it include? So we say early work. Like, how many times since last session till on today we said early package? What is early package? The people will say, okay, clearing, site clearance, but it's subjective. It depends on everyone understanding. It cannot be like that. So just a minute. I think there's some latency in the connection. Okay, let me just have it here. Fine. So first, we start with the description of the packages. We go to the package content. If there is another thing left from the previous package, it moves to here. These are the 7 volumes of the contract. Usually, when you issue the tender, you don't issue just the design. You issue 7 volumes. That is the most common. Volume 1 is the contract and the contract condition. Volume 2 is the specification. Volume 3, the BOQ, bill of quantities. Volume 4 is the drawing, which is the outcome of stage 4. Volume 5, SPM, the site procedure manual, will define how the site procedure, the manual, what to be submitted, etc. Volume 6, the soil investigation that need to be issued to the contractors. Volume 7, the appendices, if there is any. Okay, so at each stage or at each requirement, which of these 7 volumes is required? All right. Then the program, package submission date.